What's up boys, welcome to a new episode of How Do I Beat This. Today we're going to be looking at two different replays. One of a PvT with Blink versus 3 racks and one of a PvZ versus SWARMHOST. Let's start with this one. If you want to go straight to the SWARMHOST game, then it will be in the description down below. There will be a little thing to click. So you have a Terran being a bit of a prick. Kind of standard. Nothing new here, boys. Not quite sure what they're talking about, but I'm glad they're speaking. Proper build order should be Nexus Core. I'm not a massive fan of walls like this. It's so far away. Like, I think on some maps it's fine, but I don't think it's fine on this map. A simulator. Now, this is really quite bad. You always want to build your pylon as soon as you can. And now the pylon is almost 80 minerals late, 90 minerals late even. This is going to make it hard to start your adept, which will make it hard to deal with the Reaper if he sends it across the map immediately. So we'll see the Reaper start at maybe 2. No, actually it's going to be a Stalker first. Not a big fan of Stalker first either. It makes it very difficult to scout what's on the other side of the map. Stalker into Twilight. In general, things are very difficult to scout with Stalker into Twilight. So a lot of the time these days when we see people open Blink builds, it's either gonna be Robo into Blink, not that common honestly, or you're gonna see Adept into Sentry, or something like that. So you can get some kind of scouting information with the hallucination, but like this, it just is really quite difficult to get any kind of good info. We see only a single Stalker as well. Nothing as a follow-up. No extra gates as of yet either. Should have already been going down. I'm not quite sure where the money is going, but our hero is really poor for some reason. Starts a Robo now. So it's single Stalker, Blink, Robo, second Stalker. No extra gates yet. He will be getting 2 extra gates now, but okay, this build is completely unsafe. I think this is just a build order issue. He would die against any kind of fast 2 Hellion, any kind of fast 4 Hellion. Basically anything that hits before 430 would kill him, I think. Which is an issue, because there's a lot of things that can hit before 430. A little push like this could hit. 5 gates. Oh, he's going for a Blink all in. Yeah, okay, this is not a very safe build. I think the question was how to deal with 3 racks, and well, this is definitely not the way. I think this is just a complete build order issue. Now, as this is completely useless, so I'll just play it myself to show you guys exactly what I mean, how you can fight this kind of thing. Let's first take a quick benchmark. Let's see what time our opponent hit, right? Like I explained this in the last episode as well. Whenever you want to deal with a build, just take a benchmark. It's like, hey, what is the timing where my opponent hit? So we'll see. We'll give him 420, 14 Marines, 3 Marauders. Wait, but this isn't 14 Marines. There's still a lot of stuff rallying. Let's say everything is here. We'll give him 10 Marines, 2 Marauders, plus Combat Shield. So ideally, what do we need? We need about 5 Stalkers or 6 Stalkers, an Adept, and a battery. I think 5 Stalkers and a battery are fine, honestly, against this. Batteries are very useful. Once you have 5 Stalkers, you can one-shot Marines with Combat Shield. So let's try to get that, eh? So I'll take over from our friend here. I'll show you guys exactly how I would do it. Even have a voice and everything. So the way I would do it here is, obviously I'd get a slightly faster. I'll turn our voice off, it's annoying me. I'll get a slightly faster pylon than he did and all that good stuff. You want to go home with this. Second pylon, get into gas, and I'll show you guys exactly how I would execute this build order as well, how I think it's safer, how you get more information, as I'm really not a fan of not getting any scouting information. It makes reacting so difficult. Because you basically need to get all your information either with your first adept or by pure chance, which both things are crappy ways to get information. Unless they leave the depots up, you should never really be able to get a lot of information with your initial adept. So, second chrono boost on the gateway as well. And this is also why I don't like this wall too much. The moment he pops up here with his Reaper, he immediately sees what you're doing, which is not great. It's kind of annoying even. We have a sentry here. And now we can just add 2 extra gateways if we want. Slight probe cut. Our stalker is almost done. I'll turn off my sound. No, we'll keep the sound off. You see I'm continuously building probes. Start blink. A third pylon. And just like that my hallucination is ready. About 3:30 in game. I can get another stalker out before my warp gate finishes. This is just my standard build order. I'm not blind countering anything. I'm just, you know, doing what I think is standard. Now, if I would see anything move across the map now, I'd probably already start a battery, but if I don't see anything, then I don't, obviously. Here I'm like, hey, wait a second. This looks very scary. There's combat shield, there's 3 racks. Let me just get a quick battery. Should I get a robo against it? Oh, I mean, I could. It's not necessary, but you could. And battery is on the way. Here's our 4th gateway unit. We warp in 2 extra stalkers. Then we have 10 more seconds left over. We can warp in 1 more stalker. So at about 4:15, I managed to get 1 sentry, 5 stalker, 1 adept, and he had 10 marines, 2 marauders plus combat shield. I think we should definitely be able to hold that. Now, after you hold that, you can transition in many different ways. You can straight away take a 3rd base. Don't forget to always fight in battery range. So you straight away take a 3rd base, like right now. Or what you could do is you go up to 4 gas. Make sure you never get supply blocked. Add a forge. And go straight into Colossus stack. And then play 2 base, Blink Stalker, Colossus. And then, well, not quite 2 base, but because you take a 3rd base now. But first you get the robotics bay. And then you get the 3rd base. And if you go 3 gas, 3 base, then it would be very nice to get into fast charge after and go like charge lot Archon or charge lot Templar. So there's many lots of different variations which you can transition into, which is why this build is so good and why so many people like to play it. But you need to find a good version where you can easily react to things with that hallucination scout. And you also get a 2nd hallucination scout at 5 minutes again. And if you see him producing units, you can get an immortal, extra gateway units, whatever you want. So I hope that helps in dealing with that early 3 gate, and we'll head into our SWARMHOST game now. Wish me luck. Alright, here we are with that SWARMHOST game. Mr. Hello against Stellion. And I'm gonna be real, I already watched this game completely, because I've already done this part of the video, except I did the part while having my mic muted. So now I have 12 minutes of me moving my mouth but no sound coming out, which I'm kind of tempted to upload it as well, because I think people would have a good laugh at it, but I'll also definitely upload this part. Yeah, we have Hello, who will just be playing a standard Oracle into Archon drop opener, and we'll get Roach All-In. Now, he deals with the Roach All-In alright-ish, like he managed to stop it. Then eventually he dies to SWARMHOST in a way that I've seen a lot of people die to SWARMHOST, and this goes all the way up to the highest level. It's not just the lower levels, but especially on lower levels I see people deal with SWARMHOST how they deal with every other unit, and that's just by moving into it. That usually isn't quite the way against SWARMHOST, but let's get into it, as there are also some things in the early game that I thought were a little bit debatable. Hello is very good at producing probes. I gotta give him that. His early game build order is quite tight. As I said, he's playing an Archon drop, so single Oracle, robotics facility, Twilight Council, adds 2 extra, well 3 gateways in total. And basically setting himself up for a perfect Archon drop. Now, one of the things with a perfect Archon drop is that you want to start your Prism as soon as possible. So that should be right now, right? He has some extra probes queued up, which he could start his Prism right away at 420-ish. Now, he starts it at 430 instead, doesn't chrono boost it. It's very important that you chrono boost it. While you're chrono boosting it and while it's flying across the map, you can usually take your third base with 1 or 2 adepts, an Oracle, you build your Nexus, build a pylon to tuck in your 2 adepts, and then your Oracle can join your War Prism basically to escort it to build those Templar on the other side of the map. Follow it up with an Observer and then Immortal Production, Forge, etc, etc. This is the first mistake by Hello here. So first of all, his Prism is a little bit late. It should have been here already. Then he warps in his Templar at home for no real reason, and he keeps them at home. Now, I just want to show you guys, imagine that he would have hit at 533, which is a reasonable timing to hit. It's quite fast. It's a well-executed build order. Imagine if he actually would have done this on the other side of the map, and he flies in right now with his Prism and his 2 Archons. What does Stallion have? He has 12 Zerglings. Well, 12 Zerglings against 2 Archons. The Archons probably lose 5 shields each, and all the Zerglings die. There's also only 3 Queens. Basically what I'm saying here is that if Hello would have executed this build order tightly and would have done it aggressively, he would have won the game already. And this is something that happens a lot. People will be like, oh, like I lost to a Roach all-in and blah, 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 and so hard. And a lot of the time, if you have a very tight build order with a slight element of aggression, and you actually manage to execute it perfectly, you're just gonna win straight up every single game until you hit Masters 1, probably. Just because you have more stuff at a time where your opponent doesn't have more stuff, and this really happens a lot. So this is why I always tell people, please, please, please just learn a build order, practice it against the AI, and from there on out start working on the rest of your fundamentals in later games, in practice games. But initially it all comes from a build order that you just practiced, where you can benchmark yourself. Hey, how good did I do this game? How good do I usually do? Why is, you know, Harstem 35 seconds faster with his Prism? All of these things. And of course, if you're lower level, a lot of the time you're not going to be as quick as a professional player. That would be weird, but basically it's just practicing, and you can see, hey, I managed to hit 5 seconds faster, I managed to hit 10 seconds faster than last time now. And with very small changes, you can hit way faster and you can get more stuff quicker. And I always found it very fun to do that. You know, seeing yourself have 10 probes more than you usually do at the 6-minute mark, I always thought was, kind of empowering to see that with very little practice against an AI, just tightening up your build order, you manage to improve so quick in probably the littlest amount possible. Now, a theme that has been coming back a lot in the how do I beat this is the lack of vision that everyone has. This map has 3 real entrances. Of course, there's also the rocks, but those don't really count in the early game. It's really, this is the main entrance to the other side of the map. Just have something here, whether it be an adept, a zealot, your oracle patrolling, hell, he even has his observer here, the prism, I don't care, hallucination, just anything, just have anything in the middle of the map. Please give yourself some time to react to stuff. Like, no one is going to be able to be in position against an attack if they don't even know an attack is coming. Like, imagine if the attack was coming from here. Well, you're out of position. You could think, oh, well, why was I out of position? Well, because you had no clue an attack was coming and where it was coming from. So even if you're not scouting your opponent's base, I mean, this is obvious. There's no drones here. There's no 5th gas. Obviously, this is an all-in, or obviously. To me, it's obvious it's an all-in. You can also see it by the amount of units, of course. Even if you're not scouting for this stuff, at least scout on the map. If you have trouble reading exactly what the things on the other side of the map mean, just scout the map and make sure that you know when an opponent is attacking, and then look at your army and be like, hey, do I have enough for this? And if the answer is no, add a couple of batteries, add a couple of cannons, you know? If the answer is yes, then perhaps send a couple of zealots around to do some counter harass while he's on your side of the map. Like, there's a lot of reasons why you want to know where his army is. There are counter harass, defensive reasons. Just seeing his army composition is nice in general. All of these things help. So here we have Hello, completely caught out of position, and as a result of that, he's gonna lose all of his workers basically to these links. Needs to start chasing this little army. Now his army is big enough. He macroed way better than this Zerg player. This Zerg had way worse macro than our good Protoss friend here. So even though Hello's micro has been pretty bad, his positioning of units was poor because he didn't know it was coming. He's still gonna be able to hold relatively easily, right? He has a bigger army. He should definitely be using oracles. The pulsar beam does really well against Ravagers, usually, if you activate it. If you don't activate it, it doesn't actually do anything. So always try to activate it and target down Ravagers. Now if that all sounds like a little bit too much, then of course don't do that. Another thing that I've been seeing a lot is the use of F2. This guy does have 2 control groups, but he's only using F2 to move his army. You see it every time. His whole army is selected, everything, including the Prism, including the Oracle, including the Observer. As a Protoss, I would suggest you to just unbind F2, as it does more harm than good majority of the time. Not having units in the wall, having Observer just move, Oracles, Prisms, moving with your army. It's not really the way you want it to do. A quick tip for Prisms, if you want them to follow your army rather than to just float in front of your army, is to select the Prism, then use the move command, which standard I think is M, and then left click a unit, and then it will just start following that unit rather than pick it up. So if you follow a unit that's in the back, it will nicely float behind your army. Quick tip. Now, once again, Hello is completely in the dark. Has no clue what his opponent is doing. Perhaps a hallucination scout here would have been nice. After an all-in, usually you want to know, hey, is there a follow-up all-in? Is there a tech switch? Is there, is there a forward base on the way? That kind of stuff. And is there more army coming? In this case, there's more army coming. Now, Hello is completely ready for it. Well, he wasn't in position, but his army is big enough. Like, he's gonna absolutely destroy whatever the hell it is that Stellian will throw at him. And he actually does. Like, he really does destroy him. And this is where it all goes wrong for our hero. Our local hero, Mr. Hello. He sees these SWARMHOST and he fights this Locust Wave. That's completely fine. This Locust Wave was really small, managed to clean it up quickly. The way you want to fight against Locust is you don't actually want to fight the Locust unless you have Storm. If you don't have Storm, you're always running from Locust Waves. Always, always, unless you're fighting at batteries and you need to defend your buildings. But if you're on the map, ideally what happens is you're constantly attacking him, and then he has to use the Locust Wave defensively, and then you run away after he does that. So let's see instead what Hello does. As he moves forward, clears some creep with the Observer that he has, attacks this fourth base. Now he could use Revelation on his opponent's SWARMHOST. That would give him a quick warning whenever his opponent will use the Locust Wave. Instead what we see is he fights the first Locust Wave. And he loses basically his entire Zealot army here. Now, you might think, that's not too bad. He still has a big army left, but he's falling behind in supply now a bit more than before. Like, before this fight, he was still ahead. Unit lost is still even though, so it's still kind of okay. Like, he managed to kill this. He's getting his fourth base. He's getting his, well, he's not getting his +2 yet, but he could get his +2 at any time or start Storm. And his opponent will never be able to use the SWARMHOST offensively, right? There's not enough army with it to push this army back without using Locust Wave. So as long as you just dodge Locust Wave, it's completely fine. But instead what Stellian does is he sees the Locust Wave and he does what many Protosses do when they see an army, and they just straight A-move into it, which never really is the way. Now, if we back this up slightly, and we open the units lost tab, we see 8k lost right now for Stellian, and we see 7k lost for the Protoss player. Locusts are free, and I know that sounds unfair, but it's just the way it is, and you're gonna have to deal with it. What you don't want to do is fight them, if you don't have Storm. As you can see, this fight was what was it, about a 4k loss, net loss for Hello. That's very Very painful, and now he basically died. The only times you want to be fighting against SWARMHOST is either when you're at a lot of batteries at home, when you have Storm, or if you have a full air army. If you have 12 carriers and a mothership, Locusts don't shoot down, so that's completely fine as well. And these are the ways you want to be dealing with Locusts and no other way. Alright, that was it for today. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, subscribe and comment. And otherwise, see you boys tomorrow for a new video.